See Pgakenyaew Karen textile patterns in communities of Mae Hong Son and Chiang Mai. Hello, everyone. Hello, distinguished guests. We are from the Karen textile patterns. There's 4 of us. We have Phimonphan, Chanpathipsong, Chamaiporn, Loedwatthanakoson, Sirindhorn, Rattanawilailak, and also Surapin, Pichetkulsampan. These are the team members.
ค่ะสำหรับชุมชนเจ้าของมรดกที่เราเข้าไปศึกษา
And
นะคะ
for the community that we have been in would be 2 communities. The first community is Ban Pa Pong community in Sok Mui district, which they are traditionally they're Karen, and they are Buddhists and also Christians, and they coexist. The majority of the community members work rotational farming and agricultural and also rice farming. So during the free time, they also weave textiles to create extra income. And for Ban Khun Pat, it is situated in Ban Pa subdistrict, Jom Thong district, Chiang Mai Province. And the community members also are farmers, and they also work in agricultural sector, and now tourism is also another growing industry there, and the majority of the population there are Christians, and there's still some Buddhists. But I want to explain the definition of Karen. So when you hear Karen, they always say Pgakenyaew, but actually there's another name, Pgakenyaew or Sagor. And okay, so this is the historical background of the patterns. So actually the Karen likes to wear this hand-woven cotton textile embroidered, and they used to make it themselves, and they weave it themselves. It's all handmade, it's made inside the house, and they also come up with embroideries, and they design the embroideries themselves and the applique. And the Karen women would start passing on this knowledge when from the age of 12 to 15, the patterns, the thread embroidery would begin from something very simple to something more sophisticated until they become very advanced and experienced. And each of the designs, the tale is that it comes from the design of the big snake skin. And so the folklore is that actually there is this lovers, and so there's a Karen lady who falls in love with a snake, and the snake was a former lover, and the snake also changes the skin and sheds every day. So therefore she's inspired by the snake sheddings, and then so she comes up with new patterns every day. So, and there's the name of the patterns is called Yogohu Tricolor, and there's several names. And so you can see these are the different ways in each generations and how they dress. And okay, now this is more of the elderly. They wear shitsu, and you can see the patterns there, and you can see the thread embroidery and also the applique. And then you can also see they wear patung, and also on the head they wrap their hair with towels. And this is also for men. If they're among the elderly group, they used to wear red colored top that you can see on the left, but now you can see that the colors change, and the colors becomes more fashionable. You have pink, you have brown, the color changes over time. And these are the symbols of those who are still maidens and those who are married. So Shesu is those who are married, and they would wear patung, so they're on the left. And those who are still maiden, they are not yet married, they would wear white. But now they're being introduced also to how they dress. And this is the weaving process. We find first bear, which is also cotton, and then we have lei bear, and which is also the process of making the thread, and then you create also like a thread row, and then after that you dye the thread jilu, and then after that here the community member likes to soak it in rice water, so that during the weaving it smoothens the weaving process, so you won't get stuck. And then after that they do luku, which is in number 5, so you hold it in a little barn, and then after that chatta, and then you start weaving, which is number 6, and then number 7 is chatta. It's when you put the thread embroidery in, introducing this. Sorry for the background noise. So these are the natural materials used for dyes. You can see the top left, the colors that's closer to brown, dark brown, they are from the wood bark, Maikwall. And if you see here, that's yellow. And turmeric, and then also you can see all these traditional materials that's been used to introduce to the dyes. And each of the designs, the patterns, this is a basket. This basket also includes the one traditional shirt that's been embroidered with specific materials. And also in there, there's an alcohol bottle. So this is actually a basket that they use in ceremony for Liek Kwan. And now here is Chibu. So this is something that actually the mother prepares for the daughter who is about to leave the house to be married. So but the word but it's actually the pattern itself, and the belief is that but would drive away the omens and the bad spirits. So this is a protection pattern. And next is patung. So this one is called ni lua ko, and this is something that's been passed on from the grandparents, and it's made from this specific material and a specific process, which is it's something that's been passed on for generations. It's a very special technique, and you would wear this during the special ceremony Puk Komu, which is the one that you saw in the basket before. That's the ceremony that you use this, and a lot of people in this community are Buddhists.
ขอโทษค่ะเสียงของน้องมนหายไปนะคะ
ได้ยิน
น้องม
ค่ะ
นกลับมาแล้วค่ะเชิญต่อค่ะ
ค่ะต่อไปเลยค่ะ ค่ะผ้าถุงนี้นะคะ ก็จะห้ามแต่ยาติใช่หรอเขาเลยยาแต่เลย
อันนี้น่าจะเสียงไม่หายแต่ว่าเก็บน้องอยู่นะคะ
I believe she is still online, but perhaps she is
น้องมนเชิญต่อ
a little bit busy. But yes, please. Okay. So you can see that the patterns that we use on a daily basis, and we have, okay, number one, we have Pashakwa, and that's the left one. And then on the right, that's Chela. So that's a replica of, influenced by natural leaves like bamboo leaves. And next, you can see here that on the top, there's two mixed designs. You can say Sirindhorn, that's one pattern, and Sirkorn, that's the second pattern. And number 4 is also mixed, which is, can we go back, please? Thank you. So we also, number 4 on the right, Gepemu, that's the name of the pattern, and then also Tiluka, that's the pattern name. And these two, it's something that you can see people wear on a daily basis. So the first one is Sirikon. It says it's the dog paws, and the other one was the spider webs. And these two are a bit more special. So they only use this for a sacred ceremony. It's Cha, which is the stars on the left, and also Poatu, which is the frog hands. Frog. And for strength and also the challenges that the cultural heritage has for this. From what we studied, for strength, there are still weavers, but traditional designs are disappearing. They're slowly disappearing. They're not weave as much, and still people like to wear it. It's quite popular. They wear it in special ceremonies, and people are very proud that this is their identity of their ethnic tribe. So they're very proud to wear it. It's part of their identity. The risk and the challenges. The younger generations, they are not that interested in passing on this, and they see this more as a burden. And a lot of group does not care to do it, and they don't want to weave. And those who understand the traditional patterns are reducing as well. And the expertise also are reduced. And because now also another factor is there are a lot of technologies, and there's a lot of newer technologies from the weaving industry. So a lot of the hand woven stuff has been significantly reduced. And from our discussions with the communities, so we have four main activities that we discussed about. The first activity is to collect the traditional designs and the patterns of Pgakenyaew, the traditional patterns. And the second activity is to create a website or a page to disseminate the knowledge and to also post about the share the narratives through the patterns and the traditional designs. And the third activity is also to create a booklet or a manual to explain about each of the patterns. And the fourth, we would like to have workshop on natural dyes and also embroideries. So we also would like to go to the community, and we would like to hold meetings with the community to introduce ourselves and to explain to them our objectives and what this project is about. And then we would like to go collect the data also with the team and collect information. For second activity, we have two things. So we're going to have a small meeting to come up with a name for the page, and also the different channels and platforms that we can use for communications. And then we're going to create the page, the web page, as we discussed. And then it will be communications and also doing online sales and marketing through our pages. And we are going to have smaller activities. And the first one would be designing the little manual, and also to publish the little book or the manual. And then lastly, we're going to give them to libraries or back to the communities themselves. And for the fourth activity, the workshop, we would like to bring children from the community, from the village and the villages nearby, so that they can learn and they can share experience. So the time frame is 1 year, and the budget is roughly around 100,000. What would the community achieve out of this? So the youth would be more aware, and they would love more of their cultural heritage inside the community. Secondly, the youth would also learn and acquire the knowledge on embroidery and understand the meanings behind them. And also they would be more exposed to different patterns and designs that exist. And it would create a platform for communications that we can connect directly to the community, and then also to sell things through the page and the online platform. And fourth, it would be the opportunity for the outsiders to learn more about the Karen. Those that are involved in our project, it would be the youth, the children, who are also the observers, and also the key players in passing on this cultural heritage, and then also the community leader. And they would also be part of us. They would have to sign the consent form. We need the people who understand about the textile patterns. And next, should be the community on sustainability of Pgakenyaew. They would be our advisor for the project. And this is something that our elderly has passed on to us. So it means that I don't want you to follow other people's footsteps. I want you to follow the footsteps of your father and your mother. So in this sense, the footsteps, it includes everything: cultures, traditions, things, folklores, customs, beliefs that they pass on. They want us to repeat what they have started, and they want us to safeguard and then to make sure they sustain. That's it. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mon and the team. There's a lot of names here. I'm sorry for not reading all of the names, but thank you very much. I think now is time for the commentators. I would like to invite Ms. Julia Kim Davies from British Council, please.
Hi, thank you, LK. Well, again, a very comprehensive overview of the history and the process the Karen textile patterns there, and I think you've really emphasized the uniqueness and the kind of the labor, the time involved in, you know, kind of making these patterns, these intricate patterns and embroideries. I think there's a couple of things that I'd like to pick up on. In your activity list, again, very comprehensive, and maybe one comment would be there's an awful lot that you're trying to achieve there for perhaps the time scale and the amount of money that you have, your budget. But the idea of documentation is obviously quite an important one there that you picked up on. And I'm just wondering, potentially, if you've considered the role of universities in supporting that effort, and maybe, you know, kind of pairing up with maybe Chiang Mai University, because I know that they're also quite active in this space. The second one I would perhaps pick up on is the platforms for communication and the importance of utilizing platforms in order to kind of raise the appreciation and the value of craft. And platforms you could consider as well for your project could be things like Chiang Mai Design Week as potential places. I know coming from the UK, I've seen how London Craft Week has really supported the elevation of making by hands. And I think that's something that, you know, we're obviously seeing here in Thailand through these Design Week platforms. And lastly, you mentioned e-commerce as well. And I think that's a really important aspect to consider in a few dimensions. One, you would need to consider the digital literacy of the artisans. Do they have the right skill sets in order to be able to, you know, have e-commerce? And if not, maybe that's another skill, you know, it's another training that you can offer for the artisans. So maybe marketing skills, pricing of their products, you know, it's a skill set in itself, taking photos of the products and so on. So yeah, so maybe just the idea of documentation, the platform and the e-commerce, I think are interesting ideas that you're considering. So just a few comments on that. Thank you.
ครับสวัสดีครับเตยทัพสุทธินุ่นนะครับขออนุญาตเป็นตัวแทน
Hello, I would like to speak on behalf of Khun Vilani, the Savings Bank. I would like to really compliment everybody. So from the first team to now, you have very detailed research, partnership details, and it's great. And I would like to add on top of what Khun Julia mentioned on creating the platforms, Design Craft Week that we can perhaps collaborate and partner with. So I would like to also add on top of that, maybe you can also use the local opinion leaders, which consist of actually the youth in the area who becomes the leaders, and they can highlight actually the uniqueness, because we have a lot of textiles weavers and we have so many of them, but what you have is something that's different. The historical aspect, I mean, the meanings of it is quite in depth. So that's your strength, and perhaps that's something that you can build on top to build a branding and marketing, and you find the audience, find the people who would love that, because those audience, they always buy. So you need to also see when they're going to need to use it and what's the process and what's the occasion. You have to be able to identify the buyers, and then on top of that, it will be much easier to create a lot of opportunities. I would like to invite Khun Jitendra. Marceline, if you can please comment.
Just to say, I like to echo the sentiments made by my previous commenters about preparation and the quality of the presentations have been fantastic. The teams, and I congratulate them, all of them, from Thayai, Sangmin Keng to Karen. I think the homework has been done. They understand very clearly the challenges they face. And I won't repeat what my commentators have said, nor what I have said, but just to build on two comments. One is that culture is not static. And what you have, as I keep saying, is your tradition, which you can adapt very much. The motifs that I see in fabric and in new design incorporate a lot of the traditional motifs, and that is something which is hugely marketable, and it's about the quality and how you present it, and that's what I would like to say. On the actual challenge you face about it not being used by the younger generation, some of the clothing items are actually quite fun and quite cool and quite hip, and if you go and see some of the new skateboarders and rollerbladers and free runners that I meet on the streets. They love these colors. They wear these. And in Laos, for example, there are some nice young designers in their own local brands. And in Thailand, there's so many that I find who look at incorporating these motifs. So one thing you could think about, like, you know, this takes time, it takes cash, but registering your motif as intellectual property, looking at your processes as intellectual property, can also help you move up the value chain. And there are many good stakeholders, and you know, one of them, I'm sure people like British Council, we know you, indeed we know, who can help you do that. Now it takes time and cost, because at the end of the chain, you need to think about how to realize that value. And that I cannot tell you, because each country, each market has different cost structures, and you need specific advice. But all I can tell you and encouraging is that don't be discouraged by people not thinking it's cool. It certainly is cool. It's beautiful. The colors are primary. They're fantastic. And they're very diverse. And they're unique to you. They're unique to Thailand. They're unique to your own culture, your history, your heritage. And there is no problem about making that known and succeeding. I don't think so. And for 3.5 years, somehow we managed to keep afloat doing exactly that. The other one comment I like you to think about is, again, coming from the perspective of being custodians for something very special, and that's very true, right? And that's something, again, comes down to intellectual property. But the only thing I would like you to think a little bit more as young entrepreneurs facing challenging times is look at how to scale up your work. And again, that takes time and effort and commitment to quality, because ultimately you need to think beyond just the tourism market and just a temporary funding to sustain and interest people to make a livelihood out of doing traditional hand-woven fabric, right? And that is doable, believe you me. So on that note, I would like to say thanks again to UNESCO for organizing this fantastic Zoom. It beat all my expectations, to be honest, and I see that the presentations are so professional and well planned. And looking at the age groups, I'm amazed how brilliant it is. So congratulations, keep going, and I wish you all the best and success in what you do in textiles.